Welcome to the LaRae Show. I am your host, Alysha Ellis, and I have a very, very special guest today, Miss Rhonda Sharpley. How are you?
I am great, Alicia. Thank you for having me today.
I was
Appreciate it.
on my way here. I'm like, okay, Rhonda, we're gonna have to try not to cry, right? Because I thought
Yes.
about tissue.
Yes.
I want to try to do my best to give you a warm introduction.
Okay, thank you.
I've known Rhonda for, I want to say over 12 years,
Yes.
14, 15 years maybe.
Yeah. At
Um,
least.
and we've been on a wondrous journey from faith to business to health and everything in between. So Rhonda has an amazing story of your own transformation, your own journey of health and wellness. And I wanted to bring you on the show because we have been in partnership for quite a few years. One, we started a business together, and the last couple of months we've been working together as client and coach. So Rhonda's also a health and lifestyle coach. Many, many years of experience and wisdom, and I wanted to just share with the platform some of what our journey has been together and give some of that wisdom away on the LaRae Show. So try to do my best, but I want you to share a little bit more about who you are and just that abundance of Rhonda
All right.
with everyone.
Okay. Well, thank you, my dear. I appreciate you very much. Um, wow. Yeah. There's a lot. Like you said, we've been on this journey for a long time together. Um, but I guess you want me to start a little bit with my journey, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my journey is, I am happy to say that I am 65 and very happy to be alive.
Yes.
So my journey started 65 years ago. Okay. And, most of my childhood, I would say that I had some health issues. I definitely had some health issues. And, but, just trying to understand, coming out of traditional medicine and things like that. As I hit my teens, I became a vegetarian and I kind of began to awaken to health and wellness in a new way. So understanding again, I was born in 1957, so I was a child of the 60s and
A
the
lot different back then, right?
70s, exactly. So we we were open to a lot of new things. So, but health and wellness actually was one of them for me, but natural health and wellness. So that's when I really began to explore that. Fast forward to my adult life as a wife and a mom, and still dealing with life issues and trying to figure it out. Um, then all of a sudden, many people in my life, family members, even friends, began getting sick, very sick, and sick with things that are common to particularly Black and brown people, like diabetes, colon cancers, hypertension, things of that nature, and kidney failure. So uh, I saw this around me and I embraced healthy eating to the best of my ability. In the early 80s, I actually had a catering and baking business in East Lansing, Michigan. That's where we lived at the time. But it was all healthy, all natural. That was
And
the
how
big
popular
term
was
back
that like then?
huge.
Was it popular then?
It was huge. And I mean, I was in East Lansing, Michigan. So we have to realize that's where Michigan State University is. So it's a college campus. And a lot of people were really, by the 80s, early 80s, were really very open to it. And so it was a very successful business,
Love
but
it.
so successful that I ended up in the hospital burned out. So I didn't understand balance. So I was
Which
a
is
mother.
common in business, especially for women.
Exactly. So I was a young mother of four and a wife and, all of that. So now we're going to fast forward to probably the early 90s, and we came back to Ohio, back to hometown of Cleveland, and our parents were getting sick, my husband's and mine, and they eventually, shortly after we came back, my husband's mom died, colon cancer. His dad died a few years later, colon cancer, metastasized to bone cancer.
So you were seeing this now at a more personal level.
And much more personal
Yeah.
level. But in the meantime, I developed hypertension. So I was on high blood
So you were
pressure
getting sick.
medicine. So I was getting sick. Others were getting sick.
Yeah.
But I was still trying to employ as much health and wellness and wisdom as I could. Eventually, my in 2007, my younger brother, was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I became his caregiver for the last 15 months of his life. And that's what really transitioned me in a big way. Now, I was eating organic food. I was drinking a lot of water. I was doing as much as I could to care for myself. I still had my dad around. My mom had passed away a few years prior to that due to issues with kidney failure due to hypertension. She'd been on
Right.
dialysis again. And that's just my immediate family. I'm not talking aunts, uncles, and cousins,
Right.
right? So I'm seeing this. I'm understanding this. My brother passes away in 2008. I was quite ill. 2009 is when I really began the journey that I'm presently on.
Which
Okay?
is what? How do you
Which
define
is
that journey?
being whole.
Being whole.
Being whole. And so that's when I started to understand that life is about being whole. Life is about understanding that we are a spirit, a mind, and a body. And we are bio individuals, so like we're different. Everybody doesn't need the same thing. There is no one thing for everybody.
Right.
There isn't. So I began my journey, and then I really was experiencing some significant healing. I got off of a significant amount of blood pressure medicine. I'd gained a lot of weight. I began to lose weight, and I was really on that journey. But I wanted to figure out, how can I get trained in this? But again, I'm still, by then, not only a mother, by then I was also had a few grandchildren, and life goes on. So I found a school in New York, and I was able to do it online. Actually, I want to say I have to give a shout out to a very good family friend. His name is Kirk Hitchens, and he actually really blessed me by paying for me to go to school.
Wow.
So he'd gone to this school, and it changed his life,
And
like
so
forever.
what was the certification of the
So it's
schooling
the
in?
Institute of Integrative Nutrition. It's in New York City, but they had started an online program. So I was able to do the whole course. It's a 1-year certification that I took to become a certified holistic health and lifestyle coach. And so I learned a lot. I added that to my journey. I got my certification, and I began coaching. So at that time, that was 2012 when I graduated. So at that time, I was focusing still mostly on food. So I was focusing mostly on the body. So the natural food that we eat.
Right.
Although I understood that we need to nourish our spirit, our mind, and our other. And I understood and began to practice some mind body. But life goes on. And I had not yet really begun to understand that I could change my lifestyle. It was changing, but not enough. So, you still have so many ups and downs. That's life,
And that's
right?
life, and that's what we all experience day to day.
That's real life,
Yeah.
right? It's real life. So we're going to fast forward now to in the middle of our COVID-19 pandemic, okay? You and I, with our business, and we had finished a program, and then everything hit and everything shut down, right?
Yep.
So I decided that, okay, I'm going to shift my lifestyle a little bit more, as so many people have done.
Right. Absolutely.
That is the blessing side of this pandemic, right? It's
changed a lot for us.
It's changed a lot. I think it's helped a lot of us awaken to what's really important, what's really valuable, and to move out of what so many of us call the grind lifestyle.
Yeah.
So even as a health and wellness coach, even with us working together, and we were all trying to do our best to take care of ourselves, we were still in the grind lifestyle, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I that's kind of business. It's still the hustle and the bustle of trying to get things done, growing your clientele, growing your business, growing your following. And even when you have a team or you have the reputation, the credibility, the reach, it's still a lot, unless you are intentionally incorporating your lifestyle into
There we go.
your business lifestyle. And that's what we've been talking a lot about these last few months is it has to be one lifestyle. It can't be I'm going to put this part on the hold or put this one on the shelf and take this hat off daily. That is so we've heard a lot about that. I wear so many hats and I still say that about myself, but I'm learning now about what a lifestyle is
Absolutely.
and how all that plays into fact. So kind of coming back to you, what did you take away from the 2020 pandemic experience?
So I'm still there, but what I'm gonna say more than a takeaway, I'm gonna say a greater awakening. Okay, so I had a very serious health scare. So I was diagnosed with cancer, as you know, and that was a major wake up call for me because I thought, how could I possibly have cancer?
And I think we all had the same thought.
Exactly. So that was August of 21, right? So I was in the middle, literally actually I was at the end of a 5-year plan, if you recall. I had a 5-year plan that I've been working towards really shifting my lifestyle to one that was going to be really conducive to me experiencing a being whole and living whole in spirit, mind, and body. And so August of 2021, I found out that I had cancer. I'm like, that's just not possible. But it was, and it was a wake-up call, and I embraced it. I embraced the process. I'm cancer-free, just for your audience, you know that. But yeah, I'm 100%
awesome.
cancer-free. I'm fine. It was caught early, and all that was good, but it caused me to rethink everything.
Yep.
Everything about my life.
Would you say, is it safe to say that it was like, that it felt like things just got turned upside down completely for you?
Absolutely.
Especially for everything, like knowing you personally and knowing everything that you practice, everything that you believe in. It was just like, how does this happen?
Yes.
But then peeling back some of the layers, it became a little clearer of how. So do you feel comfortable sharing some of that? How? Because I think that's really important because someone may be listening and say, well, it kind of seems impossible for someone to practice all these things, and it could be discouraging for everything that we're hearing and seeing in the media and what we're trying to live a healthier life. Well, you do all that and still end up being sick. So I think the how is really important for us.
Yeah, you're right. So
and for you, obviously, because you're still walking it out.
Exactly. And I'm walking it out, and I still want to share this with the world. Yeah. That's really, my heart, Alysha.
Yes.
I love humanity. I love people, and I want to share this with the world. And I don't want to exclude anyone, but my primary focus right now is women, because women, particularly women, all women can fall into this, but particularly women of my generation, we tend to feel like we need to carry the world on our shoulders. So,
and we know this is statistically proven as well. This is not just a theory or opinion.
It's not a theory. These are hard code facts, right? And they're global facts. They're not just like Western. They're global.
And even more seriously for women of color.
Absolutely.
Latinas, Black women.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Most women of indigenous women, yes. And so we carry everything. We carry our careers, we carry our families. This is what we do. This is how we've been acculturated. So I had to take a step back and look at what was working in my life and what wasn't working in my life. And particularly, why did this happen when I thought I was at a place where I could actually make a significant lifestyle change and move into a whole different lifestyle.
Right.
And I think what I awakened to was that it was already there. So we have to, and different people believe differently, but I believe, and again, this is scientific proof of this. We have ancestral trauma. We have generational trauma. We have, our geneticists have now proven that we have, through ancestral trauma, DNA has been damaged and corrupted. So there's that. Okay.
You're
so
born.
So what are you born with? You
Yeah.
know, so what are you born with? And you might think, someone listening might think, well, dang, what can I do about that? There's a lot you can do about that. There's a lot that we can do about that. And then there's just the things in your own life, your life trauma.
Right.
And I personally don't know anyone who can get through life and get to 20, 30, 40, let alone 65 and beyond without trauma. So I had a lot of unaddressed trauma.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a lot of unaddressed grief, unprocessed grief. And I still do, but I'm aware of it. And so being aware of it, I was able to use my time when I was recovering from my surgery, from radiation treatment, to really, if you remember, I shared I kind of went into a cocoon.
Yes.
And that cocoon was a healing place for
Yes.
me, but it was a transformative place for me. And so I was very quiet and I was very just sort of close into that cocoon, but it was safe and I knew it was safe. And so spiritually, I began to awaken to how I needed to be nourished spiritually in a different way. I began to awaken in a new way to other ways that I needed to nourish my mind, okay? And my mind, which sometimes we call the thinking place. So that's your thoughts, your emotions. That's huge, right?
Right.
And then my body. So I kind of knew what to do with my body, but understanding how to bring it all together, because we have to awaken to the fact, if we want to be whole, that we need to know how to function as a one complete being, spirit, mind, and body. And so we employ many things. But as I said in the beginning, we're all different.
Right.
We're bio-individual, but we are also multi-dimensional human beings. But we are also these spiritual beings living in this natural body. So that's a lot, right?
It is, but it's really good. And I guess, for people may not fully being familiar with wholeness or what does it, how would you identify or describe, what would be some things, maybe some examples of the opposite of wholeness?
Okay.
Kind of give me this, like your top 3 things that come to mind when someone would try to evaluate themselves to say, well, I never really thought about wholeness. Am I whole?
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Broken.
Broken.
I have a few, so I'm going to think of one third one.
Well, what does broken, what does that,
Okay.
what does that look like?
Incomplete, I'm going to start with incomplete. Okay. So incomplete meaning I know that there's something missing. I think there's a lot of people who say there's something missing in my life, and they're looking for what's missing. And we look for a myriad of ways. I don't think I need to even describe that to
Right.
find what's missing in our lives, right?
Yep.
So incomplete, understanding that something's missing in my life. Okay. Broken. I'm hurt. I have places in me that are not functional. For me, glaring is a cancer diagnosis, albeit at a very early onset and, all that. But nonetheless, well, apparently there's still some significant brokenness in you, Rhonda.
Yeah. And I would say that would be, in that description, I would say that would be kind of where we started working together over the summer. That was the state of where I was at. We reached out, I think the first week of August, and which seems very, very long ago. I mean, I've talked about this in the last couple of episodes.
Okay.
Like 2022 was the longest year for me personally. And when reaching out to you, I knew I needed first I knew I needed a safe place. Well, first my sister told me you need to reach out to Rhonda after my just emotional, I would say breakdown of just like, I just can't take anything else. And in conversation with her said, call Rhonda. And I did. I didn't immediately or text you saying I would I need to talk. I just need that safe place. And that's kind of began that new journey for you and I, was arriving in a broken, fragmented state. Right.
So fragmented is another good word. So that's the third one. So understanding that something's missing. I'm incomplete. I'm broken. And broken does indicate fragmented. Because if I'm whole, I'm unbroken.
Yep.
I'm complete. I'm finished.
Absolutely. And that was the word I said from the beginning, meeting with you, was I just want wholeness. I don't know. I don't know what it all looks like. I don't know how to get there, but I knew going into it was, our first word was stability. Like I need to level set and just get to a stable standpoint. And then wholeness,
Yeah.
right? You have to become stable before you can even, like, there's layers.
Yes.
So for you, why is wholeness so important?
Well, when I really realized how broken I was, it was after my brother. Well, I've realized it several times. So after my mom passed away, I knew I was traumatized. I knew I was broken, but life had to go on.
Right.
After I cared for my brother for 15 months, and he passed away, I knew I was broken. I knew I was traumatized. I knew I was very, very ill in so many ways, right? But so I understood that. Wide awake to that. But the word whole just came to my spirit. I'll be honest. You need to be whole.
Right.
And that's what I said. I needed to be whole. I needed, and this is something else that came to my spirit. Okay. And this has been, what's my prescription? And that was 2009, and I've carried that out, and I still look now, and even when I work with clients or anyone who might have that conversation with me, what's your prescription for
And
life?
we talked about that. Yeah.
What's your RX for wholeness? And so it's unique to every individual. It's as unique as our fingerprint. I believe everybody's individual path. And so for me, I believe my journey has given me a lot of empathy. It's given me understanding. It's given me grace. Even back in 2012, what I invited people to as a coach, because I didn't really want to suffer from imposter syndrome,
Right.
and I have, because
we all do.
It's inevitable.
Yep. And I would say that what you just described of some of your attributes, your characteristics, obviously is part of the reason why my sister said call Rhonda. And another reason why I've continued on this journey of health and wellness. Yeah. But it's more than just health and wellness. I think that's a trend, and it's an industry, and it's good for what it is, but wholeness is something a bit different than health and wellness. And I think for us, as we talk through different things along the way, has been, what does wholeness mean for you right now? And I think we can all relate. Like, you have seasons where my health is really good. Like, I'm working out, the fitness is going, I'm eating clean. But maybe like my mental is is suffering, or I have a really great financial month or a couple months or season. But my body is weak. So that wholeness is, and that's been a desire, like, I want all of it. All of it. So for the first time, and I share this with you, and I share this with my intro episode, for the first time, I projected my word for the year. Okay. And so my word for 2023 is wholeness. Usually I recap each year with one word. But I was like, you know what? I want to work in harmony to manifest what that word would be. So do you have anything like that going into 2023 for yourself?
Yeah. And again, it goes back to, I've just reclaimed and re-employed one of my phrases for when I started coaching, and it is, join me on my journey to be whole and live whole. So being whole is the journey to wholeness. The destination is to live whole, meaning sustainable. Sustainability is a big word, right? And so many words, but internal integration of sustaining wholeness. I don't know exactly what that looks like either.
Neither do I, but it sounds something like I want to own, I want to partake in.
But it's being on that journey, and being on that journey with others who want to be on that journey. So, and part of the foundation, you mentioned foundation, I think this is important to share, is what we like to call turning on calm, or being calm. And so I believe that, I don't know if there's anybody on the planet Earth who doesn't experience chronic stress to some degree. I
Right.
mean, may be some really remote places where people live and they live in absolute peace and harmony, with themselves and with one another. But I've not experienced it. Okay. So that's what I found is the foundation. It really is the foundation to practicing. And I like to use the term, and we use the term practice, because if you practice, it's not about perfection.
Right.
And that's really important. It's not
Yeah.
about perfection. It's not about, it's about being whole, but it's not about running to get there. It's about enjoying the process. We talk
Right.
about that. The
Yep.
process is the journey, awakening to new things every day, but turning on calm. And so moving out of fright or flight and then flipping the switch, as I like to say, to rest and digest, which is part of our, without going into all the science of it, but we have an autonomic nervous system, right? And so everybody knows about fright, flight, fear, and we know about rest and digest, calm, right? So when we're stuck in chronic stress, that opens the door to so much sickness, disease, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
Right.
So in our whole being,
Yep.
and it just opens up these floodgates to turn on the genes that express different sicknesses and diseases. Again, spiritual, mental, physical.
Right.
Talking all of it, the whole ball
Right.
game. So
And I
some of the
recently heard about, I always heard growing up is like practice makes perfect, right? With
Yes.
sports being athletic.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like practice, so get in the gym, you got to work out. But recently I saw a post that practice makes progress.
There you go.
And so adapting that, because
Absolutely.
none of us are ever going to be perfect. So why even try to, you know, elevate to perfection when that's never going to be any of our realities, but progress, understanding. And that's what's, I believe, been working for us in this short-term journey of the health and lifestyle coaching. And I'll also add that although we've just now started doing this one-on-one, I've been coached by you since the beginning of starting the business with you. So in 2015, and even before then, because my mom was coached through you. And so I got a lot of what she received. And so I think it hasn't just been these last 6 months, but this ongoing journey of ours that now has gotten a little bit more personable,
Yes.
a little bit more intimate. And that's been, and it's been fun. It's been a lot, and I think that you've had, I don't know how many clients over the years that you've worked
I don't
with.
even know.
But in describing that, right, it is a journey, and that progress is a safe place
Yes.
versus perfection,
Absolutely, absolutely. And just keeping things within our own bandwidth, even understanding what is my bandwidth. And
Right.
sometimes my bandwidth today will be different than tomorrow or a week from now. And understanding that and being kind and gentle to ourselves.
Right. So I'm curious. I know some of your practices and what you do daily, but I would love for you to share with the audience some of, just a few things that you practice daily to embody wholeness.
Okay. So I mentioned nourished, and we talk a lot about that. And this is sort of a new, it's not new, but it's a more specific terminology, I would say, that I'm using now. So I have some practices to nourish. For me, daily, I like to start off with nourishing my spirit. So, but not just my spirit, but it's sort of my spirit, mind, emotions, and my body. So I start off honestly before I even open my eyes. But my mind is somewhat awake. I'm conscious, and I start out with just meditative prayer. So that's personal, right? For whatever that is for somebody. But I have my personal communion with my creator. That's how I like to state it. And that again helps me to turn on calm. Because what I've discovered is often, even when I'm sleeping, fright or flight is going on in my subconscious.
Yeah.
So sometimes dreams, restlessness, whatever it may be, It may be different for different people, but there's some things that are common threads, right?
Right.
So that's my first practice. And then I'll lie there in bed and I'll take some deep breaths. Breath work has been part of my saving grace.
Yes,
I'll be
me
honest
too.
with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been practicing breath work since well, probably 2011, I would say, consistently. So I'll do a little bit of breath work, and then my meditation will be usually one word, and it's something simple. And then once I get up, I happen to the way our house is situated, we have a ravine. Our backyard is this huge, beautiful ravine. So I go to my sliding glass door in my bedroom and I look out onto the ravine and I focus on something and I give thanks. So there's thanksgiving and gratitude. And that just in and of itself, I may just take a couple deep breaths, whatever I'm looking at. And that again is a meditation.
So the meditation for you continues throughout the day.
And so that's what could be categorized as a mindfulness practice. And so that's really spirit, mind, and everything that embodies your mind, your thinking place, your emotions. So that sets my emotions into a positive place. And it helps me check in with my emotions. Because maybe I'm a little sad. Maybe I'm a little depressed. Maybe I'm a little angry about something. But it allows me to check in for a few minutes and then kind of sit with that and understand what it is. We talk about this. You don't want to just like push it to the side. You want to sit with it, see what it is, and then, okay, how is that supposed to be addressed?
And so recently you've been teaching me personally about like the rhythm checks, like check-ins. So the similar is like, for instance, I'll go back-to-back meetings. I'm in and out of events, and if I just need to lay down, I'll go home for, even if it's 30 minutes and just lay on my couch. Like I'm not going to sleep. I'm not taking a nap, but I just need to like that mindfulness, the breathing, and just like bring it all in. And I had an interesting call with one of my mentees yesterday, or we actually met in person. And I was giving away, right? We talk about the giveaway of ownership. And I was encouraging him to do these check-ins. Or we're talking about the influence of our environments and relationships. And I just told him something as simple as check in with yourself when you leave a meeting or when you leave work or you're leaving the classroom from school or going out with friends. And how are you feeling?
Right.
Because he was really interested in like, how do I increase my consciousness, right? Being mindful. And I would say, well, just as a small practice, or before going into it, how am I feeling? And then you'll grow to, in a couple of days even, you start to enjoy. And now you can be more conscious of, do I really want to go back into that certain environment or back into that relationship if it's having a negative effect on me?
Yes. And that's huge. And those are small steps. Right. And I always talk about taking small steps, right? Always talk about take small steps, baby steps. Again, my friend who sponsored me to go to coaching school, he says a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Right.
Or really a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Yep.
So, but that's true. And so something. And
because
so
the big steps are they can be very overwhelming. Especially if it's someone's coming to you in brokenness or being fragmented. It's like, for a while, all we did was just talk. There was no goals. It was just like release, right? And we did a lot of the nature therapy, which was for me the first time ever doing anything like that. And it set the foundation for healing, because obviously being broken, you need an opposite of healed. It's broke. So we were working towards healing and stability to then work on wholeness. And so the nature therapy was amazing. We sat by the beautiful waterfalls. You heard the water. It was still summer, so August, and we did early mornings. And you saw the sun. It wasn't too hot. And then one thing that I recognized is that I didn't end up stepping. We had our chairs by the creek and the water, and I didn't start stepping into the water till a few weeks, maybe even a month and a half, into our weekly sessions. And it was just like, and I noticed the first time I did it, I shared with you, I was like, Rhonda, this is progress. Like, I was just so excited to feel the healing starting to take place.
And can you, for your audience, talk a little bit about that experience of actually putting your feet in the water, and in that, what was that experience of healing? Like, can you talk about that a little bit more?
I think it was a lot of different things. One was the first couple of times my feet were just in the water sitting, and then, okay, put a little bit of water on my legs, and then, but I think this symbolism over time, these weren't just 1 or 2 days in between. These were full weeks that turned into a month and a half. And that first time of kind of getting some water up to my calves and stepping into it and just walking that out it felt liberating. It felt like, okay, I'm standing a little bit. I'm getting stronger. I'm feeling better. And I think we dialogued that a little bit more in depth, you and I. So yeah, I can even take myself back to that place and feel the sun and see the water and hear the water and touching.
So that's sort of a meditation for you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know we usually keep this about 30 to 40 minutes. So I want to talk about, for you, we talked about what you practice, the mindfulness, the meditation, the breathing, which is really critical. I want to give an opportunity for you to share any advice for someone maybe like I was 6 months ago, in a place of brokenness, obviously heavy grief from my father passing, some heartbreak in between there, and just a place of like not knowing what else to do, but knowing that something else needed to happen for me to break through. What type of advice would you give him or her in that state?
Well, I would say the first thing to go back to, there's so many apps and things out here. Find something that's going to help you turn on calm. So find an app that can help you. There's just a plethora of them. I don't want to plug any one over the other, but find a good app that's just going to help you, a mindfulness app that's going to help you reset and turn on calm, and just practice. You can practice for one moment. And then the other big thing, and even in the winter in Ohio, in Cleveland, on the lake, is connect with nature.
Yes.
Connect with nature. And in this place, then check in with yourself and ask the questions, what do I need? What do I need? Do I need a health coach? Do I need a life coach? Do I need a professional counselor or therapist?
Right.
What do I need? And so you, myself, others in our network of people who are on our path to wholeness, we employ multiple disciplines of wholeness and health and practices, but start with learning to turn on calm. That's the foundation, because when we are constantly in this state of chronic stress, it is almost impossible to hear and see. And just like you said to your friend, stop, take a breath, and it could be really something simple, as we call a cleansing breath. Just take a deep breath and release it. Yep. That's cleansing breath, right? And maybe take 3 if you need to. Maybe if you're driving and you're stressed and you're white-knuckled, driving around these highways, or it's snowing or whatever, take that. Or even if you're in a meeting, you can do it and it's a stressful work environment. Do it quietly.
Right. And those things they've worked for me personally. You're obviously sharing your lived experience has been. And this is why I wanted to spend some time with you on the show. First, obviously, I'm always talking about vulnerability. That's pretty much the platform through the books, through the podcast, through the blogs, is sharing my story and connecting with others who see vulnerability as part of their transformation, part of their healing, right? Part of their wholeness. And just knowing about just the short-term progress that you and I have made in these last couple months, I wanted to, because obviously I've shared that on the show and on the platform, but I wanted to share more intimately about, working with a health and lifestyle coach and how much that has contributed to where I'm at right now. And there's a lot more we need to go and continue to walk out. But it was a starting point of where I was at that time. And I wanted to bring you on to share more of your wisdom and your life experience and all that you have been for me and then my family, because we are intertwined in many areas. And I'm just very appreciative of having you in my life and on my journey. And I'm hoping that the folks that check out this episode can either touch base with someone in their local community or reach out to us and continue on this path of discovering what wholeness is for you, because it looks different for everybody. But I want to continue to create space where we're talking about these honest things, because we are dying. It is life or death, and more women of color, and the impact of our environment, the media, everything that's happening, right? And I wanted to just create that space for us to share a little bit more in depth and a little bit more intimately around your story and your journey, and how we have been co-laboring and co-creating together. Yes.
And just working on, I'm working on, as you know, just more ways, because I'm, again, at a different place, kind of a new place in my healing journey. So even you were actually the first person that I re-engaged coaching with back in the summer, because I wasn't doing any coaching, remember?
Right.
So just, I think together, if, like you said, if people reach out to you to see what we might have to offer in the future, because this has to reach more people. It's
Absolutely
imperative.
Definitely. So any last thoughts, words from you, Coach Rhonda, before we sign off?
Breathe deep. Slow down.
Yes.
Check in with yourself. I think those are, if we can just begin those practices, that's a good beginning.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining the show, and everyone tuning in. You've been tuned in to the LaRae Show. We're here every week talking about topics from entrepreneurship, social impact, culture, and lifestyle. And clearly today is all about lifestyle, and how culture, working life, all those things imbalance and impact our lifestyle. So stay tuned in, stay mic'd up, and never miss a beat with LaRae. Thank you.